Okay, we'll call the meeting to order about 7 o'clock. We start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item 2, approval of the agenda. Are there any adjustments to be made?
I have a couple, Mr. Chairman. I know the clerk does first.
I'm sorry, there's an addition of a municipal quitclaim deed for the payment of foreclosed property.
Old business or new business?
New business?
Okay.
I have two items, Mr. Chairman. Under new business, reinvestment of a CD that comes due tomorrow. Discuss that. And then we'll be talking about some land locations for the town hall, but I have some information on dollar amounts, cost for those, which I think needs to be an executive session. So I recommend executive session under 405-6C.
Entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
You and I didn't feel.
It's going to be a tag team. Item 3, public forum. Does anyone have anything they want to bring to the attention of the selectmen that is not already slated to be discussed on the agenda? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Priscilla Coffin, and I live on Senate Road, which is a rural conservation district, as I'm sure you're all aware. Our residential use density is one dwelling per 3 acres. I live on a 1/4 acre lot. And I'm here because recently a new neighbor has moved into the house immediately adjacent to mine. And his property goes along one side and across the back, and our driveways are parallel to each other and separated by a 6-foot stockade fence. In preparation for tonight's meeting, I've been looking pretty carefully at the comprehensive plan and the land use to kind of get an idea to see what there are for rules and regulations that relate to the problem that I have. And it's interesting to me to see that Arundel residents place value on what's been referred to as the rural character of the town, that it's an elusive term to define, but it reflects an approach to life, a general attitude, and the manner in which we treat our neighbors. And that's what I'd like you to hold on to for this sake of this conversation. The comprehensive plan intends to encourage both pride of place and quality of space, and should feel proud of and comfortable. Residents should feel proud of and comfortable in their respective neighborhoods. What has occurred with this neighbor is that at the peak of his garage, there's a designer's edge or Howard lighting dusk to dawn style light, which totally floods both my home and my 1/4 acre property, significantly impacting on the quality of my life and the enjoyment of my residence and property. I've spoken with 2 staff members in town. I know there's no lighting ordinance, but I'm just trying to figure out what my next steps can be for how to address the situation. I had one conversation with a neighbor and it escalated very, very quickly, and I don't choose to have another conversation with him at this point. So that's my situation, and I appreciate your listening, and I'm hoping that at some point we can figure out how to go forward with this. But I feel like I'm living in a concentration camp because it's so bright in my yard in my home now.
Is it something for codes?
We don't have a lighting ordinance, so as you correctly point out, so it'd be difficult for code enforcement to enforce anything because there's nothing to enforce at this point.
I've spoken with Jim Nagle and I spoke with
Tad, right? Yeah.
Mhm. And I sent an email to, and I've spoken to Jason, and I've sent an email to all three of them, and I did that on Friday, I haven't had any response, but it feels kind of like it's out of compliance with what I was reading out of the vision statement for the comprehensive plan, and I'm hoping that there might be a little bit of teeth in there that might turn it.
You have spoken with Tad.
Yeah.
Maybe that we have to perhaps encourage the planning board to look at some lighting standards. We have noise standards such as they are, but we
Yeah,
don't.
so-
Well, we do for businesses.
Yeah, because when we.
This is a residence.
Right.
That's
I think you do in your business
Yeah,
district,
yeah,
you
this-
want with one, but
This is not for residential.
I'm down Senate Road.
Right.
Yeah, we did nothing for residential at all, not that I recall,
Mhm.
which brings up a valid point, you know. It's
Mhm.
Yeah.
be something to look at.
We can certainly have, ask the planning board, as it's doing, they're rewriting at this point, many of the residential standards
Mhm.
pursuant to the comprehensive plan. They're in the process of doing that.
Right.
And I know they got a lot on their plate, but maybe this is something that will add to their plate, to see if they can put some standards in place that would address what you read in the comprehensive plan.
Right. I've done a lot of research in the neighborhood, and I won't take the time to go into that, but I'm having a really hard time living in my home.
Does the neighbor explain to you why he or she thinks it's necessary to have?
For security, at the
Security.
time that I had the conversation, which was 2 days after they passed papers, they had not moved into the home, but they moved in 2 weeks ago, and the light is still on, and there are 2 other lights that are on 24/7. And I suggested that, I pointed out that I had motion-sensitive lights, and I suggested that, but the conversation went to zero, from 0 to 100, and it just escalated. So I'm not inclined to try to have that
Mhm.
conversation again. I thank you for listening.
Sure. Is anyone else?
Yeah, don't do it on nobody in town, but at your last meeting, you people went into an executive session about buying property, I believe for the new town hall. Why would you go into executive session when, if you're gonna buy something and you're gonna spend taxpayers' money, why isn't that public?
Because, Don, we're evaluating property and how much we might want to offer to pay for it. We don't want to put ourselves in a less than advantageous negotiating situations. If everybody knows what we're willing to pay for it, top dollar, so to speak, we can't come forward, we won't be able to very successfully come forward and negotiate the best price that we can. Ultimately, that we'll have to go to town meeting. I mean, whatever, if we negotiate a contract with somebody to acquire a piece of property, it will have to go to the voters. We don't have the authority to.
The other thing is, why are you looking at a piece of property when you have property that's been given to you folks to use? I mean, I don't know how much money you people are gonna spend, but if you're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and there's property that has been given to you, why aren't we using it?
Well, we had studies done on the properties that we have, and most of those studies, all those studies came back and tell us these properties aren't not conducive to a town hall site.
You tell me, up there on Bergeron
Yeah.
Drive, you cannot build a town hall up there?
That's what we've been told. We'd have to acquire additional property, don't have enough.
If you don't have enough, are you saying because of the dump is there? When, I mean, you could very easily move the dump. I mean,
Well, I don't think so.
why not?
I don't
When
think
you got
DEP
the
would be real
Nelson
happy about
property
that.
right next to you, right?
What's that?
You got the Nelson property right next to you. I don't know if
No,
the
we
town
don't
is
own that.
No, we don't
required,
own that.
but you could.
Yeah.
And why can't you build something? Well, I'm just saying, I'm
I
trying to
understand.
save the taxpayers' money, that's all.
We appreciate that, but we also want to do something that makes some sense for the
Okay,
community.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, then we'll move on. Approval of the minutes of October 13.
I don't see anything, if no one else has seen anything, I move to approve.
Velma's eagle eye here.
Yeah,
I didn't see anything either.
yeah, I'll second that motion.
All in favor of approving the minutes then? As submitted? Okay, we don't have any committee and board reports at this point. We'll move on to our manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the town attorney was contacted by the DEP in the hopes of attempting to coordinate a meeting between town officials and DEP in reference to Du Bois livestock property and the smell that everybody has been experiencing out there, and what steps, if any, that we all can take to try to address the issue and get some corrective action taking place. Because the town attorney could not be here this evening, I felt it was prudent that she be in attendance. Obviously, she's got a lot of history as to the property. So we're tentatively trying to schedule it for their next meeting, which will be Monday, November 9th, business week. If I don't hear any objections, I'll go ahead and make that, and schedule that up so those representatives can be here. I thought that perhaps we probably want at least our code enforcement officer here that evening to address any issues or any, what you've observed through these last several months, at least that we've been working with this.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. On Friday, I met with representatives from Maine DOT as well as Fairpoint Communications, Kennebunk Light and Power, and the Kennebunk Water District in reference to the Bartlett Bridge. They're looking at alternatives to try to relocate and decide specifically what they wish to do there, whether they're going to remove the bridge, put a temporary bridge in, leave one lane, how we're going to move some of the infrastructure to make it work. It was clear to me, even on a decent fall day, that the volume of traffic there lends it to a temporary bridge being installed somewhere. They're looking at locations now. They're looking at perhaps adjacent to, if you're heading south on Bartlett, looking at the left-hand side, as well as I suggested, looking at the right-hand side behind the water department's little building there, coming back out on the other side. So there's still some discussion up in the air as to where the bridge will be located. I think everybody's under the opinion that it can't be a one lane with a light there. It's going to have to be a temporary bridge to take care of the volumes. I think we all decided, or it became obvious to me, that the detour for that would be extensive, whether it comes up Downing Road or down down River Road and across onto 35 and then back up into downtown Kennebunk. But I think both of those may be just too far to make that kind of volume of traffic. So we're looking at that. One of the other reasons I was there is that we're continuing to have discussions on, obviously, sewer connection, future sewer connections coming into Arundel along the Route 1 corridor. I was advised by the DOT representative that was there that we would have to have some engineered plans as to what this sleeve or a connection would look like that would be attached to the bridge, and that would be on us to provide that information to them. So I will take some steps to look at maybe some of the present engineering firms that we have a relationship with and see if one will fit the bill to at least do that little piece that we need to have for the connection there. I'll get further information as to when the DOT expects to have that information made available to them. It may be that we're gonna need to, just put out a quick RFP for that work to be done.
What about the sewer district there? Are they interested in getting involved in this at all?
I don't believe they're interested in the sleeve. I think we'll be at the point where we'll begin discussions on capacity and the volume of materials that may be coming down that corridor to them. As I understand, their limiting factor right now is their nitrogen load, as opposed to maybe the volume of, their disbursement into the river is based on the amount of nitrogen they can release. So that's why the volumes come into play. So as that continues to unfold, I'm sure I'll have more information, but I think we're gonna have to be proactive, at least to be in a position where we know how much it's cost if we put the sleeve in, and then continue to have discussions with the sewer district as their ability to, for us to partner with them. So. And the other piece I have is the work on our town buildings is beginning. I met with Mr. Getchell. He was the person who gave us the RFP, gave us I thought was the best package. We've talked about repairing and upgrading the facade to the front of the building. Initially, I was looking at repairing or tightening up the existing windows, but it became apparently clear that there was way too much effort and time consuming to do that. So what we're going to end up doing is taking out the sashes that are there and replacing them with new sash windows. I explained to him that this could be a 2-year fix, a 5-year fix, but regardless, we want the ability to take those windows out if in fact we get to a point where the building is going to be demolished. I don't want to lose the investment that we'll have there in the windows. So we believe that we're going to see a quick turnaround in our oil consumption costs as a result of it. We're looking at about $2,700 to replace just the window, just to purchase the windows and then the installation. So that's the method that we're going to proceed on, as well as tightening up and cleaning up the front entrance. We have somebody who's come forward about cleaning up the sign. We'll have to follow up on them. They volunteered some services to do that, so we'll see if we can get that accomplished. So even though we all realize that we need more space, we need to take care of the space we have. So, and that just brings me one thing that we had, that the furnace was inoperable, and we discovered that the part of the burner was disintegrated, so they had to replace the parts of the burner unit and get the heat back up and running. So it's running efficiently at this point, as efficiently as it can for years. We got on that stuff right now.
Any questions, anybody?
No.
Okay, the old business tonight, discussion of town hall location.
Yes, Phil and I had the opportunity to meet with, if you recall at your last meeting, Mr. Tinell had come forward. His mother is Cynthia Hopkins, that owns the parcel, which is across on Route 1, across from Arundel Ford and Bentley's saloon. There's about 40 acres or so give or take in there. Phil and I met with him on that parcel as a perhaps an opportunity for that piece to be considered for a town hall. He was going to provide to me a sketch of 4-acre pieces within that parcel. He was hoping to get it to me today, but he had a little snafu in his scanner, so I'll be getting it tomorrow. both Phil and I walked it, we had a conversation with him, we talked about, we were very frank with him, we talked about that he needs to provide us what he thinks 4 acres is worth. He indicated to me that he won't have that decision until after his meeting, face-to-face meeting with his mother on November 7th. So that one sort of is in abeyance at this point until then. I've had discussions with the property on Limerick Road that we were looking at. I have an offer from them as to what they would sell us 4 acres. So we need to talk about that tonight as to how you feel about that and whether or not you feel we're in a position to make a counter offer if we need to. Finally, I had a person who has been seeing some of our discussions, came forward and has a parcel which is on Route 1, map 35, lot 8A. It's across the street from VIP. Said that is on the market. They gave me a price that I'll share with you in the executive session, and you can talk to me about whether you think we need to add that to the realm of discussions right now. So right now, as I look at the list that we started with, we certainly have 3 parcels that are still, viable. That were options that 2 of them were options that you already knew about. 1 is new. 2 of them are on Route 1. One of the things that you were really trying to do is to get good exposure as well as trying to be as centrally located as possible. And I think all 3 of these have their plus and minuses to accomplish that goal.
More extensive discussions in executive session about this then. New business, item A, acceptance of Fairway Drive.
Yes, if I recall,
Wasn't this accepted at town meeting?
it was.
Subject to
Subject to.
some work being done,
Oh, okay.
and roads and.
Right.
Okay.
As I recall, at the annual town meeting, it was subject to some things that were identified within a letter that was produced and sent to Tad from Dwight Anderson, the principal engineer for this project. There were a couple things there. Roger's here tonight to talk about these and his opinion as to whether this project is completed at this point and whether we can move forward and accept this as a road. I think that was part of the piece that was left that we needed to, that he needs to have a comfort level with it prior to acceptance.
Mr. Tasher.
You have a copy of the letter. It only took a month to try it out of it, but his recommendations would have put the shoulders on. There was one place that had stone that was approximately 221 feet, I believe. That when Dayton went in and put the shoulders on, they didn't dare cover those rocks, so we had to go back, add some material, regrade it. Then redo a ditch down at the fire, and the culvert was lowered prior to paving, but the ditch was never cleaned up, so it would drain. So there was constantly 4 inches or so of water in the culvert. That's been taken care of. It meets all the requirements. We didn't get an engineer to go back and look at it. We figured that this letter was good enough. This is what they asked for. Those conditions have been met.
Those conditions have been met, I'd move that we approve Fairway Drive.
I'll second the discussion. So when you said those conditions are met, they've been fixed, these things here have been fixed?
They had been fixed. Dayton put the shoulders on it. And again, there was one section that was 3/4 stone, which would have just been all over the guy's lawn. First time the plow goes through, so. That's been taken care of. Everything has been addressed in there. The drainage issue, the shoulders.
Are you're comfortable with accepting this as a town road.
I am, I was there again this morning to look at it,
I was there this afternoon and it looks good.
it's fine.
So should the motion be that the conditions were
Have been-
met rather than me, as I
Yeah.
said, we can't accept the road, a town has to be accepted by town meeting, so,
I think that's what the new
Right.
motion is to be.
is that your motion?
So, yeah, I'll make that the motion. Sorry.
That's okay.
And I'll
That's
second.
it. Motion been made second, any further discussion? All in favor? Surplus vehicle proposals.
Yes, they were in front of Jason right now, but I'll grab them. We have three units over in addition to the ambulance that we put out for bid. We put them out separate from the ambulance, and as you know, Norfolk has already purchased the ambulance for $5,500. The other three items that we had a 1991 GMC truck, a 1999 Freightliner bus, and a 2005 GMC Yukon that we had put out. All three items here have some sort of frame deterioration, which made it impossible for us to continue to repair and make sure they make it on the road and reduce cost of living. So what we did is we put them out in the hopes that we get some bids. We got one bid on the 91 truck, one bid on the 2005 GMC Yukon, and no bids on the Freightliner bus. The bid that we had on the GMC truck, bid amount was $505. And it was from Mr. Roger Hillick, P.O. Box 1359, Scarborough, Maine. It would be my recommendation, based on the amount of bid, to accept the bid on the truck. It appears to me, and I'll just say this, speak with Roger as well, the scrap prices right now for a piece of iron at the scrapyard is significantly less than what we would get for the bids that we received here tonight. So it'd be my recommendation to go ahead and accept these and allow these units to go down the road. It clears our yard, and hopefully somebody can put them to use, so.
I make a motion, we accept the bid from Roger Hillick for the truck for the amount of
$505.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
We had one bid for the 2005 GMC Yukon of $100 from Craig Turner. Again, $100 is more than we could scrap it for.
I make a motion, we accept the bid of $100 from Craig Turner for the GMC Yukon.
Second?
Motion made second, any further discussion? All in favor?
The last one is the Freightliner bus. Right now, we have a lead on a bus. That is also a Freightliner. It's a 2000, I think it's a 2005 or 2006. And that it has been inspected by the mechanic, and he has given it his blessings for his review of the bus. Because we didn't receive any bids on the Freightliner, I'd like to hold on to this bus just a little bit longer, because we believe that if we are successful in getting the other bus, if we can work out a deal with the capital reserve money that we already have setting aside, that the tires that are on the existing bus that we have may be in better shape than the ones that are on this bus. So it may be an opportunity to swap out some of the items that are in the buses. And after that, we're back to square one as to what we do with this bus. Now, before I was here, I believe that Selectman Labby was very instrumental in securing this bus for us. He initially had bought it for his own use. I'm not quite sure if he's still interested in a portion of the bus, because and he can probably explain it better than me. I think he needed it for the motor and maybe the transmission, I'm not sure. No, I don't know if he still has any interest in the bus after we sunset it, so.
Well, we had originally wanted it for the motor. We've since got a motor.
Okay.
I'd have to check it out. We still, we have a truck that we just lost the transmission in. Could possibly be the same.
Okay.
If that is the case, I'd buy it from the town.
Okay. All right, so we'll work on that, and we'll have Phil take a look at it, and maybe we'll come back with some sort of proposal to accept it if in fact it works out for him, so that's the way we'll leave it. Thank you.
Okay, item C, to appoint a warden for the state referendum election, Doris Taschereau.
So move.
Second.
Been doing it for about 130 years.
Don't tell her that.
Be careful what you wish for.
It seems that way. I was this big and she was doing it.
All in favor of the appointment? Okay, and then we have the follow-up request to waive the evening hours for the registrar pursuant to 21 MRSA, section 1226A2.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, the next item is to review, approve, sign the payroll and payable warrants.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Man, this is hard. Item F is to execute a quitclaim deed to Richard S. Tracy with respect to the map, probably located at map 1 lot 20. Motion to approve or authorize the signature.
That's all been taken care of.
On the backside, you should see there's zero balance on there, on your copy. They did, apparently it was an error. People's Choice actually got a deed instead of foreclosure.
Deed in lieu?
In lieu of foreclosure on this in September. When we foreclosed in January, we did the title searches after that and found that they had already gotten this. We redid the notice of foreclosure to People's Choice in March, going into April. They signed for all the cards and they never responded. So Beth happened to notice that some of the properties, some of these September ones were missed as far as the transfers hadn't gotten to her. So we needed to abate it, and I said, well, we can't abate it till we pay. So People's Choice finally responded after a few phone calls and has cleared it all up. So this is basically going back to Richard Tracy, which will then go back to People's Choice after that. So it is all taken care of.
It is.
All zeroed out.
We just need a motion to accept this.
Motion to sign, execute the deed, that's all.
Move that we execute the deed as written, and Simone says it's all set.
Second motion.
All in favor? Item G is reinvestment relative to a CD that's maturing.
Right, we have a CD, that was $250,000 that's maturing tomorrow with New York County Federal Credit Union. I had the deputy treasurer search out other alternatives other than allowing it to roll over naturally with New York County Federal Credit Union. And we have found, she reached out to York County, Vivid Savings Bank, Kennebunk Savings Bank, Camden National or Bank of Maine, TD Bank, for a 2-year CD at $250,000. And the best rate that we've got at this point is Vivid Savings Bank at 0.9%. So it would be my recommendation to roll it into a CD, a 2-year CD with Bifford Savings Bank at 0.9% this time. It's not much there.
Spend it. Spend it.
I'm sure.
Now I'll make a motion that we reinvest that CD, $250,000 at Bedford Savings Bank. 2 years,
Second.
right?
250, yeah.
2 years.
Years to 2 years, yeah.
Where money markets aren't even paying that.
Geez, and it isn't.
Well, at least we
Mortgage rates are low because
Yeah.
at all, you gotta pay someplace.
Yeah.
It works out. Now, do you need us to authorize that, or do you have the authority to do
I don't have the authority to move the money around. You have to give me that
Okay,
authority to
okay.
do that. Under 30A 5706.
Okay. Motion been made and seconded already, I think, Rick? All in favor? You have the authority.
Thank you.
Okay, any other business? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss some real estate matters pursuant to Title I, Section 4056C, the revised statutes.
So moved. Second.
At
At
7:40, 7:39.
7:39.
All in favor? Oh, excuse me.
Oh,
Yes,
Hey,
Don?
John, may I ask the question? You said you were looking at property across from VIP, south, west, east, north, or what?
West,
So it'd be
across
across,
Route 1.
be across Route 1?
Yes, sir.
So that would be the what?
that would be that big field, I think.
Yeah, it's the field right next to
It's-
Lux's.
It's kind of wet, isn't it?
That's what I've been told.
Save your money. Either that or spend it. 9.9.
There you go.
Spend it. Why you do down?